has developed practical tools such as budgeting templates, budgeting templates, and investment guides. He remains committed to advancing financial literacy and helping individuals and businesses build wealth intentionally. So, with all your reactions in the air, with all your excitement, I present to you all our speaker for today in the person of Donhenry Nwosu. I thought you'd be excited. We can do more. I'm just seeing Akinola react. Sireni, yes, you're doing it. Before our speaker comes up, I feel we can do better. Remember that we are a responsive team, and let's celebrate our speaker because trust me, for him to be here, he took a lot of time. Yes, on that note, I hand over to our speaker. Yes, Don Henry, you can take over. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chidima, for that very esteemed introduction. I still feel that was too much, but thank you. All of that
Thank you
is
very much. Thank you.
thank you. Well, I give God all the glory for all of those things that she read out. I didn't do it on my own, trust me. I mean, if I tried doing it on my own, I know I wouldn't have even gone anywhere. But I want to start with appreciating King Elisha for his time yesterday. Even with my surface knowledge of finance, I still learned a lot from King Elisha's time yesterday. And the only thing I'm going to be doing today is just to give the practical aspect after he has given us the theoretical aspect yesterday. So I would do my best to make sure that I break down every finance concept for everyone to understand and grasp very well. And please let us just open up our hearts to accept and try as much as possible to implement what we learned today. Without further ado, I'm going to be sharing my screen now, and please use your favorite emojis to confirm if you can see my screen. Yeah, come on. Okay, so everyone can see my screen here. All right. So still on the same topic, about building a financial legacy as a creative, where would be transforming our creativity into general wealth. I don't know if I still have to do this again because our host has done justice to it, but let me just brush through it. Donhenry Nwosu is a certified financial modeling and valuation analyst and a financial advisor passionate about helping individuals and businesses build wealth intentionally. As a financial analyst at BFI Insights, he focuses on business intelligence, investment strategy, and financial modeling, and has supported training programs and boot camps for professionals, startups, and corporates across Nigeria. He advises on personal finance, investment planning, and digital income strategies, and has developed practical tools such as budgeting templates and investment guides. With experience working with SMEs and corporates to build scalable financial system. Donhenry is known for simplifying complex financial concepts into actionable steps and contributing to financial literacy initiatives. Okay, let me try it again. I don't know why the entire screen is not sharing. Okay, so what about now? Please use your emoji to confirm if you can see my screen.
I think you have to type show my screen anyway and show your presentation. I can't see the presentation yet.
Yeah, but I want to be sure if my screen is presenting first of all
Yeah,
before I
your
can now.
screen is showing.
Oh, great. All right then. Okay, so let me introduce our topic today, which is how to create wealth, how to build a financial legacy as a creative. Now, first of all, what do we know as a legacy? A legacy is not what you leave for people. It is not just what you leave for people, the assets, the structures, and the values. It is also what you leave in them. So, a legacy is what you pass on to people across generations. So, you're not just passing assets, you're also passing values in them. And this quote was made by Peter Struple. Now, a financial legacy refers to the wealth, resources, and financial values that you leave behind for future generations or causes that you care about. But it is not just about money, right? It is also about impact. So now, when we are talking about a legacy, and then at some point you hear people saying, "Oh, his legacy lives on." When you make your research into that person that you're talking about, his or her legacy being living on, you'd notice that they're not just talking about the money or the land he or she amassed before exiting, but rather they are also talking about the impact that he made in the family and in the society. They're also talking about the values that he instilled in people all around him, or she instilled in people all around her. So when we are talking about legacy, we're not just talking about money, we're not just talking about assets, we're not just talking about trust funds, because I'm sure that is the first thing that comes to people's mind when they hear, oh, this person left a legacy behind. Now, why does a financial legacy matters? A financial legacy matters because your intellectual property can outlive you if managed wisely. Now, an intellectual property is 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 an intangible asset of an individual that is gotten from the person's thoughts. Now, when you're talking about intellectual property, say, let's give an example. Um, this author, Chimamanda Adichie, right? Now, her intellectual property are her books, all the books that she has written. And we all know how great a writer Chimamanda is. And even if, God forbid, she died tomorrow, we would still remember her by her books. Now, in that same way, we can say now that her intellectual property has outlived her. Why? Because she managed it wisely while she was alive. God forbid. I'll just keep on repeating the God forbid because I cannot be wishing for someone's death. But I'm just trying to give. Okay, now let me use an example of someone who's already dead. Let me not just waste our time. I'm sure we all understand the example I used with Chimamanda Adichie. And the second reason why it matters is because without structure, your income disappears when you stop creating. Now, there's actually a system and the structure behind the books that Chimamanda has written. Because even after her launch date, the books are still on sale at bookshops and festivals and concerts, wherever it is that books are being sold, her books are still on top of shelves. Why? Because there are systems behind it. If there was no system or there was no structure behind it, after her launch date, she might have she would have sold just the ones she printed there before the launch date. And after that, that would be the last time that anybody would ever lay hands on the book again. Why? Because it is no longer on sale. So now there's a particular structure and a system that makes sure that these properties, these books, these products are still out in the market and up for sale. I would leave you with one quote to think about. Don't just make money, make a difference. Don't just make a living, make a legacy. This is still a quote from the same person I referred to from the beginning, Peter Struple. Now, I remember hearing a particular thing from a conference. Now, let me just give you guys a shocker. I met King Elisha in a conference, and I will tell you the truth. Go out, network, and you'll be glad you did. So at the conference where I met King Elisha, someone mentioned something, right? And he said that when all you have in your mind about making money is to make profit and how to spend it and how to do this and how to do that, how to buy the latest car, how to buy the latest phone, how to just something very, very, very abstract, that is when making the money would actually be hard for you. But when you redirect your focus, when you redirect your strength to actually making a change, making an impact, solving a particular problem for a set of people, that way your the money will just come to you without you having to pursue it. And I think the story he described that day was the fact that he okay, I think he was conversing with one of his friends, and then his friend was complaining about how his child could not pass exams well. I think it was the JAMB exam, right here. So he he after prayers, he got an inspiration to write a book about passing exams and what have you and all of that. And he gave it to his friend's daughter. Now, the girl wrote the exam after reading the book and passed. The man was the girl's father was shocked as to how she passed the exam, and then the girl was like, "Oh, dad, it's the book you bought for me, and this and that." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then there were a lot of persons whom the man spoke to about the book, and they were like, "Oh, that my own child too has just been failing. Not like he's practically failing, but he's just declining in his studies and in his grades and what have you." And he got the book, and from there on, the fact that the man who wrote the book was not just looking out to make profit. Funny enough, the price at which he sold the book was the exact same cost from which the printing press told him was the cost of printing the books. So the man was not just looking out to make profit, he just wanted to solve a particular problem about this set of children not being able to pass their exams. And the story went on and on and on as far as where there was a drastic change in scores of students in their JAMB examinations that got the notice of the governor of the particular state. And then the governor had to do a bulk purchase, still at the same cost price that the man placed it at. The governor of the state had to do a bulk purchase from the author of the book. And that was where, in less than a month, the man made billions and millions of naira, even without the idea of saying, "Oh, I want to make money." All he wanted to do was to solve a problem that he found in the society. Now, this is just to open up our eyes to making sure that we should redirect our focus from making profit to trying to make an impact in the society or solving a problem for a particular group of people. Let's go on. And now I'm going to introduce 4 very practical foundations of finance. Now, if you know these foundations at your fingertips, if you have them at the snap of a finger, trust me, there would be a drastic change in your finances moving on. Now, the reason why I say this is because I would use myself as an example, right? Yes, I studied banking and finance in school, but this practicality was not exactly instilled in school. Now, I'm not trying to downgrade the education that we got from higher institutions. What I'm trying to say now is, yes, they did their good job, but I think there is more job, or rather, there is more effort needed from us to build ourselves. So that is where you have to use the skills that you learned from King Elisha, as he mentioned yesterday, about reading books. I'm not going to lie to you. Those books he mentioned, which I'm sure he will be dropping the title of the books very soon, the books he mentioned, they are very powerful. And I would also send some titles to him that I have read for him to send on the group as well. Now, those books are really strong. And aside that, you also have to put yourself out there. The Google is your friend. ChatGPT is also your friend. Browse, ask questions, read books. Oh, hey, ChatGPT, which books can I read to help me grow my mindset? Which books can I read to help me grow my finance knowledge? Which books can I do this? Which books can I do that? And you'd see tons of them. And all you have to do is, if you feel that the price in the market in bookshops are too expensive, get the soft copies. There are a bunch of them online. Get the soft copies. Most of the soft copies are actually even cheaper. But if you're the kind of person who cannot deal with staying on the screen 24/7, you can go for the hard copies that are being sold at bookshops, and even online vendors sell books as well. So you have gotten the knowledge. Next thing you have to do is put in the work, put in the steps. Now, the first foundation of finance that we're going to be looking at is budgeting and tracking. And King Elisha mentioned yesterday about using the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50% goes to your needs, 30% to your wants, 20% to your savings and investment. Now, there are other forms of models for budgeting, right? And this budgeting method is even flexible, given if you're the kind of person who there are there are lesser things on your want list. Say the only thing on your want list is just maybe to purchase a few clothings, your entertainment, that is your Netflix subscription, and once in a while you don't eat out all the time, but you're just your want list is just very, very little. You would notice that you could readjust the percentage that you allocated for your wants and push most of them either to the needs or to the savings and investments. Me, for instance, I know in some way, I mean, everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage, right? And I am an indoorsy kind of person. Aside from the days when I have to do something really important or really necessary outside, I am just inside my house at my workspace. And that has made me to realize that a lot of things on my want list are practically not important to me at the moment. At the moment, they are not important to me. So what I do, I use a 70, 10, and 20 rule. 70 for my needs, 10 for my wants, and 20 for my savings and investments. Some months I even go as far as 70, 0, 30. Now, why I'm saying all of this is, first, you have to, just like King Elisha mentioned yesterday, you have to study your income before you now be able to study your income and your expenses for a particular period of time before you now be able to allocate a certain percentage to it. Now, the reason why I was able to do my 70-0-30 and 70-10-20 is because I have studied myself, and I have noticed that the fact that I am inside my house has made me realize that a lot of things on my want list are not necessary to me at that particular point in time. So I just focus all my income to my needs, which is just the basic utilities, rent, electricity, data subscription, mortgage payments, debts, and a whole lot of other things. And zero for my wants, because there's actually I don't even use Netflix. I do everything I want to do on my YouTube. If I want to learn a particular course, either I go to YouTube or I use Udemy or whatever. But I'm not even on. I don't use Netflix, and I got to realize that after studying myself. So yes, I have a Netflix account. I had the subscription, but in a particular month, I wasted the entire subscription because I didn't even use it. So when I studied that part and noticed it, I was not able to review my monthly budget and redirected the money that I used for that subscription. I redirected it to another particular purpose. Now, after you have studied your income and your expenses and you've given yourself a particular model of budgeting, now there are certain tools that you can use to track your income and your expenses and also to create a budget for yourself, a monthly budget for yourself. And as a creative, you need to have budgets for yourself, which are sometimes called personal monthly budgets. And then you also need to have a budget for projects that you handle for clients. If you're a graphic designer or you're a brand designer or a videographer, photographer, whatever part of creativity that you have decided to venture into, you need to have a budget on how to allocate and make every naira to work for you. Now, some of those tools could be Google Sheets, YNAB. These are some of the applications that you can download either on your Google Play or on your App Store to help you track your income and expenses. And then we have some local banking apps. Another way to even track your income and expense that King Elisha mentioned yesterday was downloading your bank statement. Now, if you do not, if you're using the bank or if you're using the service of a bank that does not offer um, an online view of your bank statement from the bank app, you can just send an email requesting for your bank statement. Most banks, I don't even know about other banks, but the bank I use, every month I receive my bank statements in my email. Whether I send an email or not, I must, like, it is a must that on the first of a new month, I receive my bank statement from almost all the banks that I use. And mind you, I did not ask them. I did not send an email earlier asking for this. So it is your right. That is your account. It is your money that is in their custody. So you have the right to request for an account statement at the end of a particular month to study where your money has been going to, where your money is coming from. And after you have studied that, you'll now be able to control the excesses. You'll now be able to control the places that it is not supposed to go to. So take for instance, before I found my foot in financing and my personal finances very well. I was the kind of person that after I receive my income for the month, the first thing I'm like, oh, I have suffered enough for this month. I need to chill out a little. And just like in Elisha, the first thing I would do is I would go and eat food. And it's not like I'm even going to eat like an actual food. I'm just going out to just go and buy junk. Or and the kind of junk is just biscuits and drinks. That's all. And when I tell you the kind of satisfaction I get from that, as at then, it was inexplainable. But after I had made my research and I had studied well and everything, I found out that 20 to 30% of my income monthly goes to just biscuits and drinks. And that is almost the same amount that I can use for my savings and investments. And in that way, I would be able to grow my wealth. But thank God to the internet and knowledge, I was able to catch that so fast and cut it down. And I can tell you now that I am even living a happier life, given that I I did not entirely stop eating my junk. I mean, it's almost impossible. But the main thing I did was I cut it down to about a 98%. That even with the 20% that I moved to my savings and investment, the other portion that goes to the junk is now an extra on top of my savings and investment. So now I am now having a double portion for my savings and investment that I usually put aside for junk every month. Right. So now with such knowledge, I have been able to redirect my funds from where it was not growing for me to where it is now actually growing for me. The next foundation we're going to be looking at is called savings habits. And trust me, everybody I think everybody in one time or the other has faced this thing where probably in the middle of the night, you're just scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or YouTube shorts, and you just see some motivational videos where you're like, oh, build your life, oh, do this and do that. And the next thing you just turn your switch on, you drop your phone, you arrange your bed, you fold your clothing, and you're like, and then you write down your goals that night, and you're like, oh, the next one I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to start saving, I'm going to start working out, I'm going to start, that's 1 a.m. motivation that comes in the middle of the night, right? And you set your alarms and you do everything that you have learned from the videos that popped up on your feed while you were scrolling that midnight. And the following morning, your alarm is ringing. The first one rings, the second one rings, the third one rings, and you're just turning it off and off and off. And you're like, oh my God, can I just sleep? So now that motivation usually comes up at the beginning. Now, let us relate it now to the savings habit that I'm trying to mention here, right? So now, when you're trying to build a habit, it is best. Now, I don't want to say this so that it sounds like it's coming from me, but I'm going to make a reference to a book I read, which is Atomic Habits. Trust me, I have read that book the first time. I am reading it the second time, and I am sure I'm going to read it up to 5 times because it's like every time I open the book, there's like a fresh knowledge of the same thing that I have read before coming back at me again. And after you've read it the first time, please, when you're reading it the second time, take a note, take a pen, jot down. Because you would be, even after jotting down, you would still notice that when you go back again, those things that you have read would still feel so fresh in your head and they would feel like new knowledge. So, what I learned from that book is when you're trying to build a new habit, don't just attack the habit straight on. Habits are things that grow one after the other. Now, habits grow like money in the sense that you do not have to put a lump sum now. You do not have to do the first big task now, but just start with the slightest thing, one task after the other, one task after the other, and in that way, you'll be sure that the habits are compounding on top of each other. Now, for this savings habits, the system you can put behind these savings habits, right, is to automate the transfers. Now, there are certain applications that allows you to set a particular date, a particular time, a particular amount to be deducted from your account balance every time. So when in at the particular point where you do not have the willpower to make the actual transfers, the application just deducts the money from your accounts and sends you an alert. Oh, I have taken the money. Or I have withdrawn the money. Before I go on to the next foundation, I want to make sure that you guys are still following. So you can just say hi or drop your favorite emoji. I want to be sure that you guys are still following. Okay, great. Beautiful. All right then. So let me just go back. Now, the system that I mentioned about building the savings habit is automating your transfers. Applications like Piggyvest has that feature. Bamboo has that feature. Optimus by AfroInvest also has that feature where you can set a particular time and a particular day in a month, and then the amount to be withdrawn from your account at the interval that you want it to. So when you have tracked your income and expense and you've allocated your 50-30-20 or your 60-20-20 or whichever one that works perfectly for you, first of all, you have to study it to be sure which one works for you. Then next thing is you calculate the amount, 20% of your total income, and automate it for transfers every month. That way, you don't have to wake up when you've gotten your income for the month and start thinking about what other things you would have used the money to do, or you can use the money to do. So you're not so the automation, or rather the transfer, is not based on emotional intelligence, but rather it is just automatically withdrawn from your account without you having to go through the process of transferring the money yourself. Now, the next foundation we're going to be looking at is emergency fund. Now, this emergency fund, right, is more like your shield to any unforeseen circumstance that life can throw at you. Now, we are in Nigeria, where there are so many situations. Now, I don't want to sound so hysterical, but we already know this usual saying about village people. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know if they actually operate, but let's just bring down, let's just apply that knowledge here. So now your village people could wake up one morning and be like, oh, this person has been enjoying for quite some time. Let us make him or her lose his job. Let us make him or her be involved in an accident, or let us make him or her fall so sick. Now, without your emergency fund, you might not be able to cover those expenses. And God forbid that our village people are going to have access to us. So now your emergency fund is more like your financial shield to any form of situation that life could throw at us. Situations like loss of job, situations like delay of client payment, situations like no clients in that particular month. Now, the only way to build this is to start small. Now, you already know that emergency fund is more like your financial guide, and you're like, oh, if I don't have this armor, if I don't have this shield, anything that happens, I am done for. I am I am totally open to anything at all. So now you have to target at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly living expenses to have aside as your emergency fund. Now, what do I mean by 3 to 6 months of living expenses? By the time you've you've studied your income and your expenses, right? And you already know how much you spend in a particular month. That same amount, multiply it by 6, which is the 6 months here, and that should be your target for your emergency fund. Now, when you hear such kind of thing, I'm not just saying that, oh, once you have to wait until a lump sum comes, so you just put 6 months worth of your living expenses. No, it is a gradual process. You can start with 1,000 naira per day. You can start with 2,000 naira per week. The main thing is, make sure you have a system behind it that is pushing some amount of money aside as your emergency fund, so that when any of these situations that life throws at us comes up, we'll be able to reach our hands into there and save ourselves. Now, these emergency funds should be placed in a high yield savings account or liquid account, and definitely not in tied up assets. Now, this is what I mean. High yield savings account is more or less like our traditional savings account, where you're okay, we already have this knowledge of where our parents or people around us are just saying, almost save for rainy days. Now, when you're saving in a traditional bank account, you are just putting money in there. And let me give you a picture of the behind the scenes of a bank, of a financial institution. Right? When people's funds are lying idle in their bank accounts, the banks are not just leaving the money there, right? And this thing I'm telling you now, banks do not want you to know this. Financial institutions do not want you to know this. Yes, you're seeing your last debit alert or your last credit alert on your phone, and your balance is still there. Yes, the balance is still there. The money is yours. When you need it, it's going to be there. But the money is not just lying idle in your account. The bank is using it to invest in tons and tons of high yield return investments, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And when they make those investments and then profits comes in, they pocket their profits and your money is still available to you. Now, we're not saying that the banks are scamming us. They're not scamming us because when you come back, your money is still there. The same amount of money that you dropped there is still there. There is no, even just the usual maintenance charge fee or SMS charge or the monthly charge, But aside these deductions, the actual money that you dropped in your account is still there. But then the bank is making their own extra profits with your own money. So now when you now go over to the bank and with this knowledge, you're like, oh bank, hey, you meet your account manager and you're like, hi, please, I want to open a high yield savings account. I want to I want to open this account and that is where I want to be focusing my savings on. And yes, they're going to oblige and open up a high yield savings account for you, right? Now, that high yield savings account has a particular interest that is being paid to you annually. Most banks range from 18% to 23% per annum. Now, if you have your emergency fund of about 6 months worth of your living expenses and say um, your monthly expense is about 300,000 every month, and 6 months worth of it is 1.8 million. Now, you should know the amount of money that would be coming into your account every year with a range of 18 to 23% annually. So, what we are trying to understand here is 18 to 23% multiplied by your 1.8 million worth of emergency fund in that account. So now the money is not just lying down there as your emergency fund. It is also making extra money for you. Now the reason why I said a high yield savings account or a liquid account is so that when any of those situations come up, you can actually withdraw the money and solve the issue right there at that particular point in time. But when you wake up one morning and decide to crave pizza, that is not an emergency. Please do not use that as an emergency. Before I go on, please notify that you can hear me and you're still following on the call. Oh, okay, great. Beautiful. So now, why I said you should not tie up your emergency fund in assets is because assets are more like kind of investments that look forward to a medium to long-term duration hold. Now, these assets usually focus on saying if you do not leave the particular money in this investment for so period of time, your interest on it will be deducted, your interest on it will be cut short, your interest on it would not be given to you. So it is best not to put your emergency funds in assets, but rather focus them in high yield savings accounts or liquid accounts that you can have access to whenever any of this emergency that you're saving up for comes up. Now, that is the third foundation. Let us go down to the last foundation. And the last foundation in finance is separating your finances. It is best to separate your business account from your personal account. Why? Now, take for instance, I run a business, and my business, I am into consulting, financial consulting, and someone comes up and say, "Oh, I want you to do this for me. I want you to do that for me. I want you to be my financial planner. I want you to plan my finances for this month, for so period of time, and this and that." And I send in my invoice, I send my quotation, and the person comes up and say, "Oh, all right, which account should I send the money to?" And then I give him or her my personal account. Once that money enters my account, I might at some point not even remember that that is my business income and not a personal income. Now, I would decide and be like, "Oh, I don't even remember where this money came from." And then I would use it for an entirely different purpose without having to track my personal income and expenses and my business income and expenses. Now, it is best to have separate accounts for it. Now, let me explain further. It is practical enough to focus, it is practical enough to have at least 3 to 4 bank accounts. Let me explain. So now, when you have 3 to 4 accounts, bank accounts, I am literally talking about bank accounts now. You have one for your personal income, say gifts from people, salaries, and whatnot. And then you have a business account where all income and all expenses from your business is coming and going from. Now you have another account that all your investment fund is going into. And then you have the last account where your emergency fund is going into. Now, all of them put together, they are all your income for that particular month. Like when you calculate the amount of money coming in the four accounts and you put it together, that is your total income for the month. But now in that way, you'd be able to separate how much that you want to go to your savings, emergency fund, and investment. Now, take for instance, in your personal income account, your salary comes in and say a whooping sum of about 700,000 naira. And then you calculate your 50, 30, 20. You move your 20% to your savings account. Now, when you move your 20% to your savings account, that 20%, you're going to split it into two, where 50 of that 20%, 50% of the 20% is going to your investment, while the remaining 50% is going to be saved in a high yield savings account, right? And then you now transfer your 30% to an expense account. Now that expense account is where your daily expenses, transportation, coffee, any just that quick, or the usual daily expense that you make in a day. The reason why it's even hard for me to even mention a practical daily expense is because when you're indoors, it is hard to even say this is what you spend on daily. I can remember the last time I made a transfer, and that was this morning for my offering in church. Aside that, I cannot remember the last time because I am indoors. And now I'm not trying to like paint being indoors as a good thing. It has its own side disadvantages and its own side effects and what have you, and it still has its own advantages. But now the point I'm trying to make here is you have an expense account where that is the only account that if you want to spend on this, you want to spend on that, is coming from. You have your income account, you have your savings and investment account, and then you have your emergency fund account. So it is best to separate these accounts so you can easily track where this money is coming from. You can easily track where this money is going to, and that way it would give you a clear understanding of your income that month or your income in a particular period that you're trying to look at. Some apps like Optimus by AfroInvest even allows me to see, even OP does that, allows me to see how much income how much money came into my account in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months. How much did I spend in the last 3 months, in the last 1 year? So if you have this expense account, sorry, if you're able to separate your accounts, you'd be able to track the particular money that is coming in, where it is coming from, the description of where it is coming from, and all of that. That way you would know that, okay, this is where this money is coming from, and this is where it should go to. That is the relevance of separating your finances. And another relevance is that it protects you from legal issues and tax issues. Now, this tax issue, there's a new tax reform. There's a new tax reform that our dear president has signed into operation, and it will be starting on the 1st of January 2026, where there is the personal income tax, the company income tax, and whatnot. And now the bad side of it is that, now let me know, when I say bad, it sounds like a heavy word, but the other side of it is that every particular person who has an income is going to be charged. If you're making if you're running your finances on crypto, you're going to be charged for it. If you're running on digital currencies, you're going to be charged for it. If you're running on Nigerian Naira, you're going to be charged for it. If you're in diaspora, that is outside the country, and you have a business running in Nigeria, you're going to be charged for it, which is called taxes, right? But now, the reform here is that there's now a particular percentage for different levels of income. Unlike before, there was a flat rate of about 6 to 7.5% for everybody, no matter the amount you're earning in a month. If you're earning 100 million, if you're earning 500 million, if you're earning in billions, you're just going to pay the same 6 to 7.5% as taxes. Even the person earning 200,000 naira, even the person earning 20,000 naira is going to be paying the same amount, the same flat rate for taxes. But now this tax reform has made it that you're going to be paying taxes based on the amount that you earn. So now it is a progressive kind of taxing that has come into Nigeria, where from from 100 from 800,000 naira to 3 million naira per annum pays 18% per month. From 3 million and 1 naira to I think 100 million, yes, to 100 million pays 23% on taxes. So as your income increases, your tax increases. But now, mind you, this tax only comes on your taxable income. Taxable income, I mean, is, when you receive your salary and then they deduct pension, they deduct your health insurance, they deduct your mortgage. It is now the remaining. It is the remaining that the tax comes upon. So it is not coming up on your gross income. It is coming up on your net income. Gross is the total amount of money that you agreed with this company and says, oh, this is going to be your salary for the month. Net is after all the deductions have been made. So the tax is coming on the net income, which is your taxable income. And it is also the same thing for business owners. If your business is earning below 100 million, you're going to be paying a certain amount. If it's earning from 100 million to 300 million, you're paying a certain amount. So it is not just a flat rate now for anybody. It is now as your income progresses. Now, let me bring it back to separating your finances. When you're able to separate your business account from your personal account, most people receive commissions, most people receive salaries, most people receive business profits in their personal accounts. And when all that sum of money is piling up in your personal account, like your income statement is piling up, you're going to be charged for it a heavy amount. Why? Because they're saying, oh, this particular person is earning a personal income of 300 million. So let us charge him immediately for the personal income tax. But when you separate your business account from your personal account, that way you'd be charged the business tax rate and you'll be charged the personal tax rate. And in that way, it would only come on the taxable income after all deductions have been made. So now this would help you solve and it would help you avoid tax issues. Legal issues, if your business is registered under the CAC, that way, now when your business is registered under the CAC, right, you're going to have a tax ID or your tax Promax number. Now that tax Promax number is what is going to be, that is your identity as a business for where your taxes will be paid. So now, if you're running a business and you're not doing your tax returns yearly, you're not doing this, you're not doing that is pertaining to tax under your business, you're going to face some really, really petite but heavy legal issues from the government of Nigeria. Why? Because you have registered your business and you're not paying your taxes. So there's no way to tell us that you're running a business and you're not making profits. Obviously, you're making profits. There is money coming in, even if you're not making profits, but there's actually money coming in. Why? Because they can actually track today now. If you want to open an account, a bank account, you're going to be asked for a tax ID. Now that tax ID, let me use an example outside the country. When someone tells you social security number, that social security number is like a unified number that links everything concerning this particular individual. So now your tax ID is more or less like a social security number. Now that tax ID would be needed for your bank accounts, whereby any form of income, any form of expense can be tracked now using your tax ID. So once they just impute tax ID on the portal or on the website, they are able to draw every form of income and every form of expense on that particular account. So if you think now that you're being smart by saying you're using your personal account to collect money from your clients, to collect your payments from your clients and your commissions and whatnot, you're going to be charged heavily on this, number one. And then you're going to face legal issues because they can actually track you now using your tax ID. Now, do not see this from the bad perspective. It is a very good thing. Why? Because now people can actually say, oh, this person is running a scam, this person is not running a scam. And there's actually a lot to be spoken about under financial foundations. But I'm just going to stop here and move on to the next. If you have any more questions, there would be time at the end of the session for all the questions and whatnot. And there would obviously be more versions of this webinar. Now, for creatives are lucky that they have two sources of income. Two, and the two are active and passive. Now, what do I mean by active? Creatives can make money in different ways by freelancing, performing, or taking art commissions. They can also teach through workshops, partner with brands, or even consult in their field. Together, these opportunities give both income and growth opportunities. Now, when we're talking about active, in English language where they taught us active and passive voice. Active is more like where the person who is actually like you're talking in the voice of the person who is speaking, and passive is more like you're reporting what someone has already said. Now, in the active stream of income, it is where the individual is actively working for the income. He's actually there. He's doing that thing at that particular time. He's teaching, he's performing, he's consulting, he's doing this and doing that. He is right there at that particular time. So that's any income that comes in from that activity is active. Now, the other stream is called passive, where creatives can earn through royalties from music, books, photography, or film, and by selling digital products like ebooks, templates, or courses. Licensing and collaborations offer additional income, sometimes even equity. Now, this passive stream of income is the other side of you where, take for instance, you're a photographer, right? And then you now write a book on how to edit a particular picture, or you make a video on how to edit videos and post it on YouTube, or you post it on your Instagram, or you're selling this digital product or these ebooks on the internet. Now, you're not right there in the shop walking around and saying, oh, come and buy my book, oh, come and buy this. But actually, the websites are there like an online shop, and money is coming in. So now you're not doing an active job of writing that book every day, or making that particular video every day. You have done the task once. Now it's going to be generating a continuous income for you over time. That is what we call passive. So you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there physically for that money to be coming in. And creatives are so lucky that they have these two sources of income, these two streams of income rather. That is the active and the passive. So with all the skills you've learned, you're getting clients and you're doing jobs for them, you're earning commissions, you're earning royalties and whatnot. So you're doing jobs and you're earning commissions and you're getting your clients and you're getting paid and all of that. That is active. Now, when you turn your skill into a digital product, when you turn your skill into something intangible and put it out on the website, and it starts generating income for you, now that is a passive source of income. And I would want to give us this assignment, right? Whichever niche of creativity that you've decided to venture into, go and make researches on passive sources of income that you can venture into with that niche that you're focusing on. That way you'll be able to create your own passive stream of income. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at is we're going to be moving on to the next slide. But one thing I'm going to tell you now is that it is best to start with one product. Now, there's this thing I learned from a video where you have a lot of good ideas. We're not asking you to toss them away. We're not asking you to not do them. But now what we're saying is start with one, focus on that one, build it. Once it's out there and it's running, you can then go on to the next one. Starting everything at the same time would make you lose focus. It would take your eye off the important details from one or at least all of them. So the first thing or the best tip I'm going to give you now is start with one passive product, develop it, put it out there, make sure it is running already. Then you can now move on to the next one and start trying to build the next passive product. Now, investment pathways. This is the next thing we're going to be looking at. And investing in stocks and ETFs is more like owning part ownership of a company. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard news about, say, or you've heard any news or you've read any article where people are saying, oh, Dangote is selling shares now, or they've opened up their share markets, come and buy shares, or Fidelity Bank is selling shares, or this is selling shares. Now, when you purchase those shares, you are automatically a part owner of that company. And whatever profits the company makes, you're going to be gaining from it. Whatever loss they make, you're just going to either not get paid or your money will just reduce. Now, in investing, the main idea behind investing is investing for long term, medium to long term at least. Now, why do I say medium to long term? Over time, when you're able to study the income or the finances of a company, right? When you're able to study the income or the finances of a company, you'll notice that probably in a year, the company might be making losses. But across 5 to 10 years, a company would actually be making more than 200% profit. So when someone tells you, oh, you should start investing, don't see investing as a source of quick wealth, where you say, okay, I want to invest 20,000 naira today, at least in the next 1 month, in the next 2 months, I want to see my profits. No, when you view it that way, you're actually going to be disappointed so greatly because it does not happen that way. There are a lot of things that move the market. So definitely, you might not be able to make returns immediately. But over time, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, more, you would see that your money would even double in size more than you would actually expect it to. Now, stocks are more like part ownership of a company, and ETFs, which is known as exchange traded funds, these are this is more like a basket of different investments into one, right? ETFs is more like different forms of investment inside one basket. So you're not just looking at stocks. You can decide to say, oh, I just want to buy Fidelity Bank shares, and you've just bought the stock for that company, which is just the finance industry. But now ETFs is like a basket that contains stocks, or rather shares, of different companies from different industries. One ETF could contain stocks from the finance industry, energy industry, infrastructure, agriculture, and say real estate inside one basket. So now this ETF gives you access to flexibility, gives you access to different forms of income. Why? Because if one particular sector of the economy goes down, the other one would actually buffer for it. So let's just take, for instance, now with the way crude oil is actually going down now, and you have an ETF, that's one of the assets in that ETF. There is a crude oil share, company share in it. If the price goes down, the other assets you have in that ETF, say infrastructure and real estate, will actually cover up for it. Now, when this ETF helps you to have access to different forms of assets inside one basket. And the best thing is long term. It's actually even written down here. Long term. Now, when you start your investment, I repeat, do not withdraw your dividends. Dividends are returns you make from investment. Do not withdraw them because you're not going to be using them now. The amount would be too small. That's number one. And also, you would not have any need for your dividends now because now you're not trying to make quick money, but you're trying to grow wealth. You're trying to build a financial legacy over time. So it is best to reinvest your dividend. Now, compounding your dividend is more like if you invest 5,000 naira today and you invest in a company or you invest in an ETF that pays dividend every quarter. At the end of the quarter, you would actually have 5,000 naira plus the dividend you have earned. When I tell you reinvest your dividend, at the start of a new investment, you're not just going to be having 5,000 naira. You're going to be having 5,000 naira plus that dividend that you reinvested, and then an extra one that you have put inside that same investment for that month. Now, if you have decided to be putting 5,000 naira every month into a particular investment channel, month one, you have 5,000 naira. Month two, you have 5,000 naira plus 5,000 naira for month two, plus dividend from year one, from month one that you invested. In month three, you have 5,000 naira from month one, 5,000 naira from month two, 5,000 naira from month three, and dividends you reinvested from month two, from month one and month two at the same time. So now the your capital keeps on growing on top of itself. It keeps on adding up on top of itself over time. So now you're not just, when you withdraw your dividend, you're just having the exact same amount every month, just the same 5,000 and 5,000 and 5,000. But when you invest a dividend, there's like an extra on top of the amount that you started with as your capital, and then the extra that you're adding in when you finally build the habit of investing every month. And it is also best to diversify your investments into our local currency, Nigerian naira, and the dollar currency, because we all know that dollar obviously is higher than the naira. So when you diversify your investments into these two currencies, you'd be able to beat market inflation and all of that. Now, another form of investment is mutual fund and pension plans. Mutual fund is almost like the ETF, but then mutual fund is professionally managed by portfolio managers. And you can access mutual funds from different applications like Optimus by AfroInvest, the Stanbic IBTC app, and all of that. Pension plans is you're saving, you're being debited a particular amount every interval that you agree with them upon as your retirement money or your retirement plan or your pension money after you retire at your old age. So mutual funds are beginner friendly and is managed by portfolio managers. So you're not just the only work you have to do is bring out the money, purchase a particular mutual fund, and then there are people who are managing it for you on the application. The next pathway we're going to be looking at is real estate. Now, we could be thinking, just like King Elisha mentioned yesterday, that a lot of people now are thinking that real estate is the kind of investment that you have to wait for millions and millions of naira before you can actually invest. Now, there is something that we call REIT, which is Real Estate Investment Trust. You have access to these features on some certain applications on the internet now, where you can actually invest any amount. I think PiggyVest does that too. Yes, PiggyVest does that too, because I have been able to invest, I think, in one or two places. So all you have to do is go down to the application and just venture into it. Just click everything and anything. And if you think you have made a mistake, you go back. That is how I learn my own things. Before I can then go down to YouTube and say, oh, how can I use this application? I first of all make my own journey, make my own move first, and learn what I can learn. So PiggyVest gives you access to investing in real estate without having to say, oh, you have to wait for 10 million naira to purchase a particular land. And the reason why I am including real estate as a pathway in my investments here is because lands appreciate. Now, you can decide to purchase a particular piece of land now, and in the next 2 years, the amount would be double in the amount would be doubled. Now, it is best not to sell your land immediately. I would give you a tip. Do not sell your land immediately. If you can, hold on to that piece of land for 5, 10, 20 years, and you would thank your maker in heaven that you listened to what I said. Now, I have heard stories and I have also experienced a particular piece of land. I think a particular piece of land I got some years back, I think a year and some months back. And shocking news, I'm not even done paying for the land. There's a payment plan on the land, and I'm not even done paying for it. But I can tell you now that that land has already doubled in price. I'm not done paying for it, and I can already see the amount of money I could make in the next 10 years if I decide to sell the land. But now, if I decide to build on the land, I can actually build something and then rent it out for people to actually live in, and then I'm now earning rental incomes on the account. Another investment pathway is creative assets. Now, as a creative, you can sell or license your products. You can create NFTs and then have a merchandise line, probably a face cap or a t-shirt. I mean, one of those. You just have to go deep into your research to understand these pathways. Now, these are steps to protecting your wealth. First thing is estate planning. Now, when someone says estate planning, you're already thinking, oh, are you already telling me to imagine growing up or imagine being old already, and now I have to start writing a will to avoid my children dragging my profits. It is best to start early. And one easy way to do it is through trust funds. Now, we know this thing where people are saying, oh, he or she is a trust fund baby. Now, the idea behind that is that their parents did not just buy or purchase assets in their own personal name. Rather, they purchase assets in the family name and put it into a trust fund for a trust fund manager to oversee those properties. Now, whenever there is some sort of unforeseen circumstance like the death of a father or the death of the owner of those assets, they do not have to start dragging, oh, now my papa get the land. Sorry, sorry for that pidgin English. But they don't have to start dragging the land and say, oh, I am the firstborn, I am this and that. But rather, trust funds have standards and rules attached to them. So now the trust fund manager would now be able to go down to the right owner of the estate and say, this is your property and we are your managers. We are going to continue managing your trust fund for you. It's as simple as that. Now, whenever something like that happens, you do not have to start settling family issues and brothers and sisters quarreling left and right. This is one way to protect your wealth. And trust fund also comes with some form of insurance. So if anything happens to it, your insurance company could cover up for it. Another way is intellectual property, which is in copyrights, trademarks, and patents. Now, copyrights and trademarks, I don't know if anybody has tried downloading a picture from the internet and then you see a watermark embedded under it. So you try downloading a picture and then when you now want to use the picture, you'll now be seeing something like maybe stock photo or free pic. As it's not like it's boldly written, but there's a watermark under it to tell you that it is free pic that is one of this picture that you're trying to use. So now they've been able to trademark their property on the internet. In that way, no other person can claim ownership of that property except the actual owners who have trademarked that product. This is one way to protect your wealth so that any random person cannot just come up and just collect your property and start using it without your own knowledge. That is why when you, even musicians these days, when you see somebody, before you use a person's music, now let me even bring it down to you. When you're scrolling on TikTok and you see people or creators using a famous musician's music to dance or to make a video, the audio has actually been paid for by TikTok on behind the scene. So TikTok actually goes and say, oh, we want to upload your audio to TikTok so that our subscribers, so that our creators can use your audio. They pay a very huge sum of money to that musician. And that way, that is even another form of passive income for the musician. And that music has been protected by the company or by the recording studio of that particular musician. So now when creators now come over to TikTok and they're using the audio, TikTok is even making its own money as well. But now the main idea is that intellectual property, the music, the audio, the picture of the creator has been protected with trademarks and copyright acts. Another way to protect your wealth is insurance. You can protect your life. Now that came out wrong. You cannot protect your life. Rather, you can insure your life so that in any form of accident or emergency or outbreak, you'll be able to have access to a particular fund, a particular amount of money to cater for your needs at that particular point in time. You can insure your health, disability, and equipment. This helps you to guard against unforeseen circumstances. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but probably something like you'd see a particular wealthy man today, he's driving a car and for some particular reason, there's an accident on the road and he's involved in the accident. And the following day, you see him riding on another one. Now, it may be that he has another one packed at home. But now the idea there is that he might not even have another one at home, but rather he has an insurance on that car that anything that happens to the car or anything that happens to any of his property, he can actually walk up to the insurance company and be like, oh, this, and this has happened. And then um he now claims an insurance on that particular property, and then he's able to replace or fix that asset. Now, the tip here is first things first, always register your first work as early as possible. Immediately you release it out, register it, put up a copyright act on it, trademark that particular work as soon as possible. So any other person who is trying to make use of it would reach out for permission, reach out, and you'll now be earning royalties from that asset. Generational transfer, transferring your wealth from generation to generation. Where I think I'd already mentioned trust before, and another one is through writing wills. You don't have to write it to yourself. Just walk up to a legal practitioner, which is a lawyer, and say, "Oh, I want to have a will. I want to draft my will. I want to write my will." And you write that. Now, when people hear will, they're thinking, "Oh, am I planning for my death?" No, you're not planning for your death. Rather, you're planning for your future. You're planning for your generation. That is the people that come through you after you. You're only planning for them, and you're planning for your future. You're not planning for your death. Please do not see wills as planning for your death. Wills and trusts help you to protect your assets and ensure smooth transfer after death. But we're not actually planning for your death, though. Financial literacy. Always educate your kids and heirs and your team on managing well. Trust me, I know how many things I have learned from my mom, because she was the one who taught me early on. She was the one who was talking about savings and investments early on. And I think some days back, I even received a particular share that my mom bought for me while I was very little. I received a dividend on the particular share, and I was like, "Oh, so this dividend is still alive." I mean, I didn't purchase the shares myself. It was purchased for me while I was growing up, like while I was still an infant. So my parents actually did a good job with teaching me. My parents are not into finance. They're not working in a financial institution or whatever. My father is not, my mother is not. But then they had the knowledge that they grabbed along the way, and then they taught me, which is which has helped me in so many ways. And now I am able and very, very capable of managing my wealth. Another way to transfer wealth from generation to generation is family governance. Always establish family meetings and written values for continuity. Warren Buffett is telling us that generational wealth is not just money, it is wisdom. So when you're passing down wealth from generation to generation, it is not just money you're passing down, you're also passing down values and impact down. Now, examples of Nigerian creatives who were able to use some of the to utilize their income through the active means and the passive means is Fela Kuti and his family, music royalties, brand legacy sustained across generations. We have Davido. Davido is a very, but then he still earns income from endorsement deals, brand deals, equity stakes, and he even went as far as building his own record label that other up and coming artists can come and record their music and do their business, but then they pay him for it. So he's earning money from different means. Aside from the fact that he has a rich father, and when you trace it very well, most of these artists do not even start off with their father's wealth or the wealth from their family. They start from scratch. So I'm not saying that they did not have some help or the other, but then most of them actually had the help in form of debts and loans from their father. An example is Femi Otedola. In his new book, he mentioned that he got a loan from his father to help him start his business, and over time he paid back the loan. So it is more like a start, a kick to help you start, and not just to help to sustain you. Another person is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I mentioned her earlier. Genevieve Naji. She's into acting and producing, and now she owns her own content. We have Alibaba, who started with comedy and then diversified into media. We have done Jazzy, started with the Maven Records. Before Maven Records, he was a musician too, or rather, he is a musician. Although I'm not explicitly into their kind of music, so I don't know if he has released a new one or not. But then he has a record label now, just like Davido. He actually had one before Davido. Now, a warning sign here is protect your intellectual property. Create systems behind it. Diversify. Don't just focus on one thing, but focus on one thing, build it, grow it, and then go into the next one. Diversify into different industries. Own rights, copyrights to protect you and your properties. And then make sure you pass it down from one generation to another. Now, I'm going to close up with giving you an action plan. Now, I have told you, I have explained to you these things. Now, this is an action plan. This is an action plan now. So start building your financial legacy. First things first, today, open a separate bank business account and track your spendings for your business. Separate your business income and expenses from your personal income and expenses. The next action I would want you to do is by the end of this month, try any amount though. Do not focus on the amount I put here. You can please, this amount is very flexible. Do not focus on it. It is very flexible. If you feel 100K is too much for you to spend to save this month, 50K, the main thing is starting. It is hard to start, but it is easy to continue after you have started. So save a particular amount, but like challenge yourself to a very large amount and try to beat that amount by the end of this month as your emergency fund. Then by the end of this year, I know the year is rounding up in like the next 3 months, but at least in 3 months, you should be able to register your intellectual property and start at least one passive product. It does not take a very long time, but when you make your research, study well, you'd be able to know how to create a passive product in your niche, in your industry, in the line of creativity that you've decided to venture into. And in the next 5 years, I should be hearing that some of us here have actually bought our first land and have series and series of long-term investments. Let me give you a very slight motivation. Please, I'm not a motivational speaker, but I challenged myself to actually venture into real estate. And I got my first property at the age 21. I think it was even before my 21st birthday. I was 20 when I got my first property. And make your research and find very affordable payment plans offered by verified and trusted real estate agents. I stumbled upon a real estate agent that I was able to spread my payments for as long as I think a year, 2 years. But the main thing was that the stats was as low as 30,000 naira. And when I started, I got my receipt, I got my documents as soon as it was ready, and I became a landlord at 20 years. It is that funny. I mean, it sounds like it is a testimony. Trust me, like that is the first thing that I did. It was a testimony to me. But right now, it sounds funny to me that I became a landlord at 20. But now the main thing there is that I challenged myself. I mean, if anybody can do it, they do not have two heads. They are not born. Most of the people who are into real estate now, they are not under Femi Otedola's legacy. They are not given birth to by Adeleke. Rather, they have parents just like mine, a father and a mother. So I challenged myself to it, and that was how I was able to do that. And last, this sounds somehow, but before you exit this world, make sure you draft a will and set up trust and teach your children. Most of us here could be young people, with Gen Zs and all of that. And we might be looking forward to having children probably in the next 5, 10, 15 years. But as soon as you start having them, or if you have younger siblings, teach them. It is very important that they know this. Someone is sitting in a shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. The first time I read this particular sentence, it hit me so hard. It was said by Warren Buffett. Now, you know how long it takes for a tree to grow. Take for instance a mango tree. It takes very long for a mango tree to grow. But that tree would have not been there if someone who lived years before then did not plant a seed in the ground for that tree to grow. And you're enjoying the shade of that tree because someone was there to plant that tree. So start now, start small, build a habit, build a system behind it consistently. And over time, you'd be able to go as far. My first investment, apart from the real estate, was 1,000 naira in Nigerian naira. My first international investment was $1. So don't start saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for 100K, I'm waiting for 10,000 naira, I'm waiting." Start with what you can, automate it, and make sure that you build a system behind it so that you do not have, if you do not have the willpower to continue, that system keeps it running and going, even when you feel tired or when you lack the willpower to do it. So start now. And I can tell you that that $1 investment that I made over time with automating my investment and reinvesting my dividend, at this point in time, I have about 12 point something dollars now. And when did I start? 2 months ago. Why? Because I was trying to make sure that I was making my research into a very reliable platform for me to start my international investment. I started with $1, and over time I have been able to grow it to $12. My first Nigerian investment was 1,000 naira, and over years, over months rather, I've been able to grow it to more than 100K in investment. So the main thing is not starting with the amount that you think is best, but starting with the amount that you have. I'll repeat, do not start with the amount you think is best. Start with the amount that you have now. And with this, I am going to be closing my curtain for this, for my presentation. And I pray that we are able to put what we have just learned now into practice to start immediately. All right, I'll be giving the mic back to the host to continue doing the good job that she has been doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Don Henry. Teammates, please can we celebrate our speaker? We can do better. We can do better. I can see Miracle. I can see King Elisha. We have more persons, right? So I want to see the reactions in the air. If you really know that, Babatunde, I see what you're doing. Okwechi, I see what you're doing. Favor, I see what you're doing. Please, let's keep celebrating our speaker. That being said, while we are celebrating our speaker, let's also celebrate ourselves, because trust me, it's not easy to actually stay here and be in this meeting for David. I see what you're doing. King Elisha, I guess I see you all. Thank you so much. So on behalf of everyone, I'm saying a very big thank you to Samson. I see what you're doing. I'm saying a very big thank you to our speaker, Donhenry Nwosu. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you so much for the knowledge. Thank you so much for having taken out time to research and give us all the value you have just shared with us. So that being said, we are going straight into our Q&A session. But then before we start off, I know that we all have been listening. Like, I feel like that's why we are all here. We want to learn. We want to do something different. We want to do something differently with our finances. So I would like, in no particular order. Okay, I can see David. David, can you unmute for a few seconds and tell me what resonates with you the most in today's session? Because I feel like our speaker would actually love our feedback. So, David, can I hear you?
All right, good evening. Good evening, and it has been an insightful session. It has been an insightful evening. So, yeah, basically, I enjoyed the parts where he talked about the investment and how he actually started small. So, but I did not join early, so I did not get to probably hear the platforms he actually recommended for investment. So, yeah, please, I would like to know which platforms you're actually recommending us to start our investments with, most the international ones. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, David. That was beautiful. Please, whilst I'm picking in no particular order persons that will tell me what they learned, please you can start dropping your questions in the in-call messages. I'll read them out. So, Okwechi, I just love this name. I don't know why. I love the name, and I'm very proud about the fact that I'm getting the pronunciation correctly. So yeah, Okwechi, tell me what resonates with you the most, or what's that one big step from what our speaker has spoken about today that you would be doing. So let's hear you on mute for a few seconds and let's hear you speak.
Okay, good evening, everyone, once again.
Yeah, good
I think
evening.
the speaker he just murdered everything, like he killed it, and
Mm.
I'm actually going to put everything to practice. Especially, he said that we shouldn't invest with what we think is the best, but we should invest with what we have.
Okay, thank you very much, Upechi. That was beautiful. So invest with what you have. Because really friends, the truth of the matter is um most of the time why we don't get to do the big things we plan to do is not because it's not attainable. First things I discovered is because we actually set unrealistic goals, and another thing is because we allow fear stop us from starting. And one of the things I've discovered is you don't really have to be perfect to show up. I am speaking from experience because trust me, I've had a lot of some shaggies up and down in business, in having to do something to upscale personally. And somehow, when my friends ask me, why did you not start? I really don't have a valid reason. Now, when our speaker was mentioning, okay, have separate account for this, for this, for this, didn't I say counting the accounts I have? I'm like, Jesus, what am I doing? In all these accounts, I have so much in there, but I can say that if I want to do something with funds, at least I know where to send this particular money to. So yeah, a practical experience. So I have a friend that is a field marketer in a bank, Sterling Bank precise. So she walked up to me. I was like, okay, she would like to come to my office space. Okay, not to worry. Please let's keep dropping our questions. I would read everything out for our speaker. So whilst I was saying so she came and said she would like to come to my office space to open an account with present. Initially I didn't want to open the account because I'm like, girl, I have lots of accounts already, and majority of them is just dormant. But then I now realized that okay, I just rebranded and relaunched my business. So I'm like, okay, let me just open this account, not because of anything, but specifically I'm going to use it for my business. So now what am I saying? You have accounts. You could just decide to allocate one to a particular kind of thing you want to do. Like our speaker mentioned, you could have your account for your business, you could have your account for your emergency funds, you could have your account for your personal spending and all of that. So before I still give another scenario, I would like to read out the question from Ayomide. So he said he would like our speaker to give more light on the picking your 50-30-20 rule. So yes, don't hurry, please just give me a minute, please. Let me read this question out. So he said, are there any particular things to be aligned aligned there or just based on your personal spend and expenses? So I'll hand over now to our speaker. Don't hurry, let's have you please.
Oh, all right, thank you. The reason I raised my hand was because David earlier asked a question when you pointed him out to speak before the question in the income messages came up. And I would like for David to repeat his question. So it has to be a first come, first served basis. So David, please repeat your question before I attempt to.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. David was asking about the online platforms you mentioned for investments, the Nigerian
Oh,
stock investment and international investments. So I actually felt that you would be dropping that in the group. That's why. So David, I didn't ignore you. My please, thank you
yeah,
very much. But then you
yeah.
could actually still mention it and then still drop it in the platform. Thank you.
Oh, sure. So the platforms I would be mentioning, I'm not just mentioning them for any reason, but for the fact that I have gone through them, I am using them currently, and I can tell you that the UX experience is very good. First I have on the list is Bamboo. The second I have is Piggyvest. The third is Branch. Then the fourth is Optimus by AfroInvest. These four offer various features. So now for my Nigerian investments and international investment, I use Bamboo and Optimus by AfroInvest. Then for my savings, my high yield savings accounts, I use Branch, and then I use Piggyvest for just the traditional. Um, all of them allows your automation. The automation I mentioned, they all allow it. The feature is in there where you can put in the time and the amount to be withdrawn. They are all there. So with these four platforms, you can start your investment journey as soon as possible. Now on to Akinola. You want me to give more light on picking your 50-30-20 rule. Now, for you to be able to pick a suitable rule for your budgeting, you'd have to first understand, read, study, and understand your income and expense in a month. And just like King Elisha mentioned yesterday, download your bank statements, gain access to your bank statements, go through it, go through every debit and credit alert, go through everyone. So you will now be able to know where your money is coming from and where your money is going to. That way, you can now, after you've outlined where it is going to and coming from, let us focus on the going to now. When you've outlined where the money is going to, you can now categorize each under need, wants, and under needs and wants, and then savings and investments. Needs are things you cannot do without. Like these are essentials that you have to, that if they're not there, there's going to be a problem. Wants are more like an additional, which means you can do without wants, but just for the fact that we are humans, those wants are there to keep life going. So now you don't have to totally eradicate your wants, but when you can now categorize your expenses based on your needs and wants, then you can now remove the unnecessary wants and then calculate how much exactly has gone into your needs. That way, it will give you an idea whether it is 50% of your income or 60% of your income that would comfortably carry your needs. And then you would now be able to understand how many percent would comfortably carry your wants. And it is stated that you need to have a standard amount for your savings and investment. You do not have to, this month you put 15%, next month you put 10%, the next month you put 20%. Have a fixed percentage of your income for your savings and investment. That one is non-debatable. It is non-debatable. Have a fixed rate. The only time your rate for your investment and savings should change is when there's an extra income or when there is a reduction in your wants. Then it should be redirected to your investment and savings if you do not have a need for it. So if this feels like a long process, another way is to gain access to a budget template. Now, a budget template contains the basic things that should be in a budget. Now, the reason why it is a template is because you can now edit it to your choice, to suit your own lifestyle, to suit your own personality as a person. So now once you have that template, after editing it, put in how much that you spend every month on that particular section. Now, when you've downloaded your bank statement and you see, you spend your rent every month, you spend 250K on it, like you're trying to save for like the end of the year because rent is being paid annually. So every month you're putting 250K aside to pay for a rent. Once you go back to your budget template, put 250,000 naira for that month. So once you're done, you'll now be able to see whether it is 70 or 50 or 60% that goes for your need. And then you will now allocate and understand how much should go for your wants and how much should go for your savings, and a fixed rate rather to go for your savings and investment. So the particular things to be aligned there is the exact things that have been that you've noticed from your bank statement, and then basic utility bills, rent, electricity, internet subscription, and whatnot, transportation. These are basic things that should be in your budget. Okay, Babatunde is asking, is it Optimus? So now Optimus has a subsidiary, which is Optimus by AfriInvest. So I am not talking about Optimus. I've tried using Optimus. The user experience was not exactly, I have not just given my time to studying that one, but then I stumbled upon Optimus by AfriInvest. It is literally written as Optimus by AfriInvest. So that is the one I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just Optimus. Does anybody have any more questions? Idema, please take the mic back.
All right, thank you very much, Donhenry. That was beautiful. So, David, I hope you got answers. And yes, Ayomide, I hope you got answers. And Babatunde, I hope you got your answers. So yeah, a little to add to what our speaker said with respect to your question, Ayomide. The truth of the matter is, like the saying goes, a man's meat is another man's poison. So the main reason why our speaker Don Henry would tell you that you should find what works best with you is because you understand yourself more. He would only give the suggestion as a financial analyst and consultant. But with what he has given, you should now be able to analyze and evaluate. Now, a personal experience. So when I learned about the 50-30-20 principle, I think, yeah, it was when Don Henry and I was conversing. Yes, so disclaimer, I've known Don Henry for quite a while. So yeah, I started with that 50-30-20. So it was working. And yes, I was just on a chill level. So just pay attention. So afterwards, I stumbled on another principle I learned from Financial Jennifer. I mentioned her yesterday for those of us that were around. And she spoke about the same 50-30-20 principle. Then I don't know where I saw 10-20-30-40 principle. And guess what? I left the 50-30-20 principle. I wanted to try out the 10-20-30 principle. So why is 10-20-30-40 principle? So for me, it's the 10% is my tithe because we are Christians, right? So that's not for everybody, it's not compulsory. So you have the tithe for 10%, 20% for savings, 30% for debts, and 40% for my wants. I tried that and I discovered that, Lord, this is not my thing. I had to stop because the very moment I tried the 10-20-30-40 principle, I lost money at the point I could not keep proper track record of what I used my income for that month. So currently I'm on another budgeting system, which is 10-20-20-40 principle. So I get to see all of this when I do my research about finance to know, okay, which one will work better for me. And so far so good. The 50-30-20 principle worked very well for me, and the current one I'm working on. So that's why, like you mentioned earlier, find what works best for you. So Don Henry, I would like to ask this question, and I feel like I should read everybody's mind, not like I'm a reader or rather sort of. But then I would like to ask questions not based off on noun, but for future references. So you mentioned emergency funds. So I would like to ask, because I know that when I was able to do all of the stuff you mentioned, I was able to save for emergencies, and somehow it saved me, and I was not caught unawares when any unplanned expenses arose. So I'd like to ask, how can you save effectively for emergencies? Can you say that, okay, maybe as a low income earner, because we are all about ensuring that this is made easy as possible, that a layman can walk into this webinar and ensure that, okay, I can actually try this thing and I'm not confused. So as a low income earner, let's be realistic, let's say 30 to 50,000 naira, that's your income. So how would you say this person can save up for emergencies? Because I remember our speaker yesterday when I asked about, okay, how do you get to save for your need, and then he was able to explain to us how we can save up for that. So you already mentioned emergency funds. So how do we get to save up for emergency funds as low income earners? Thank you very much.
First, I'll start with having to repeat what I said before rounding up with my presentation about starting with what you have and not starting with what you think is best. If you're earning within 30,000 to 50,000 naira in a month, and in one way or the other, with the current situation of the economy, that amount is really not meeting up to the standard of taking care of someone in this particular economy. But now the best and practical way you can start is saying 1,000 naira per month or 500 naira per month. So now the amount looks small. Yes, it is small. 1,000 naira or 500 naira per month. It is small actually. But over time, in a high yield savings account, it would grow after compounding. And emergencies don't just is not a regular kind of thing, except emergencies are not even a regular kind of thing. It's once in a blue moon kind of thing. So that would actually give you enough time to save at least 1,000 naira in the next 12 months. In a year, you have 12,000 naira, which if you sit down and say you want to remove 12,000 naira from your 50K income that month, it is going to be a very tough pill to swallow. So if you gain access to those platforms I mentioned, automate your transfers. So you don't have to start sitting down and thinking of all the different things you could have used that 1,000 naira or 500 naira to do. But before you even start thinking about it, PiggyVest or Optimus by AfroInvest or Bamboo has already withdrawn the money and dropped it aside for you. And you're left with the remaining, and now you can now plan with the remaining. So trying to build an emergency fund does not mean you have to put in a lump sum. Like I said, emergency fund or not, any form of investment, if you can, start with what you have. Don't wait. Waiting kills ideas. Waiting kills very solid ideas. I have learned this from people, from books. I have also learned it from experience. Trust me, there are a lot of things that I missed out on. Why? Because I was waiting for the perfect amount to drop miraculously into my bank account, not knowing I had to grow that money for myself. So you have to start with what you have. And now as a creative, your income might not even be 20 or 30,000 naira in a month, but most times it is fluctuating. This month you could be earning 50,000 naira. Next month you'd land a very big client, and at just 1 gig you're getting 200,000 naira. The following month you're coming back to 100K. Another month you're earning 500,000 naira on 1 gig. Now the best hack behind this creative earning, now creative earning, I mean earning as a creative, as a creator, is use the lowest amount as your base for your budgeting amount. So now if with all of these amounts I mentioned, say 100, this month 100, month 2 500, month 3 200, month 3 500, use the lowest amount, which is 100K, as your base amount to plan your 50-30-20 rule or your 60-30-10 rule. Use the lowest amount. So when a higher amount comes up in any month and you've budgeted using the particular rule that is perfect for you, the remaining amount goes into two places: your emergency fund and an extra for your savings and investment portion. When you have used the base amount when you've used the rule that goes well with you on the lowest amount that you've budgeted, any amount that remains goes into that emergency fund that you've been putting 1K or 2K every month, and then the remaining part of it goes into your savings account or your investment account. So you're not putting the remaining into Netflix or cinemas or shawarma, but you should put it into building a wealth that would pay you later on, that would pay you in the next coming years. That is just the simplest way to build your emergency fund. I don't know if I answered your question, Chidima.
Yeah, sure you did. And I hope everyone was able to get insight from that. So, the second question, whilst you were, I know you mentioned having an account for emergencies and having accounts for savings and having accounts for investments. when you mentioned the investment platforms. So now the question I would like to ask is, do you think it's right having the same account for your savings and investment? Is it wise? Because I know that when you mentioned, you said you have a different account, piggy vest. Yes, piggy vest for your high income yield savings, and bamboo and Optimus by Afri Invest for your investment. So it would there be need to separate it, because most times we get to mix it up. So what would you advise as a financial consultant in this scenario? As a low income earner, remember that we're trying to make it as easy and simple as possible.
All right. Thank you for that question. Now, I would advise you separate it. Now, the reason why I said you should separate it, so that one thing that is perfect for every human is being able to come back to a record and understanding where this came from and where that is going to. Now, at the end of a particular year, you might want to say, oh, at the end of 2025, I was able to save so amount, and then my portfolio under assets is so amount. If you have your savings and investments in one account, you'd not be able to ascertain that particular goal, to ascertain that particular information and tick off that goal, because most times at the by the start of a new year, we all always, everybody, I mean, 99% of humans on earth have these new year resolutions saying, oh, I have to save this particular amount by the end of this year. If you do not have your savings and investments in different accounts, you'll not be able to tick off that goal that you achieved it that year, because you're not able to easily and clearly track how much you have been able to save and spend. Now, another reason is when you've done your budgeting rule, and obviously you need to put 20% to your savings and investments. The lump sum amount that you've set aside, that is identified as the 20% of your total income that you've set aside for your savings and investment, you have to split that money into two equal half. Now, when you split it into two equal half, you're going to put the first 50% into savings and then the other 50% into investment. The savings is not just to drop it there. It is rather in a high yield savings account. So it is gaining interest for you periodically. While the investment is growing the money for you exponentially. So it is best to separate your savings from your investment account. You can put the entire 20% inside one account, right? But when you're not actually trying to separate the savings and investment, make sure that you can easily tell where the savings is going into and where the investment is going into.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm the only one getting all of the value here. I thought our income messages would be going up. We thank you so much. This was mind blowing, but everybody's just keeping mute. Hello, family. We are a responsive team. So, can I see your comments, please? Can I see your messages coming? Akinola, sorry. Upechi, let me see your messages coming. Let's see your messages coming. King Elisha, let's see your messages coming. Babatunde, Favor, Samson. Let's see your messages coming. Emmanuel, let's see your messages coming. So let's see the in-call messages. Let's see. Thank you so much, Donhenry. Thank you. We love you. We celebrate you. We appreciate you. Thank you for the value. Thank you for the knowledge. Let's see your messages coming. Let him feel the love, please. Let him feel the love. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. So yes, there's lots of love from Emmanuel to Don Henry. God, I'm jealous. So yes, thank you so much, Don Henry from King Elisha. So yes, friends, we have before we draw the curtains officially, please let the comments keep coming in. We just have only two people. Wonderful insight, beautiful, Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Please let's keep the comments coming in. Wow, lots of fire from David. Ani Fowoshe, yes. Very impactful. Don Henry Babatunde is giving his remark. Thank you so much from Ayomide. Thank you so much, Don Henry. You are loved. Oh, Pechi says that. Emmanuel, please, will this continue on the WhatsApp? Certainly it would. We are not going to stop here. We don't do bare minimum here. So David said he learned a lot. Beautiful. So David, it's not like I'm picking on you, but let's start with you. So can we have you in the income message? So what in particular are you telling us you'll be practicing today? So you learned a lot. That's beautiful, but a lot is not you being specific. Because the whole creative webinar is designed to ensure that we elevate in our finances, and elevating in our finances, I've been able to bring practical steps and guides for us to follow through, beginning with our first session by our first speaker yesterday, where he was able to debunk the myth about money and ensure that our mindset is being changed and moved correctly to help us change the trajectory of our finances. Yeah, sure, David, you can join the WhatsApp platform. I don't know whose contact you have here. Either you have Don Henry's or King Elisha, you have mine. So I could probably send you the link to join. Babatunde says wanted to state that as well, that we continue conversation as no, that's beautiful. But the only time I'm going to have issues with you all in the community would be if you stay mute, because we do not do ghost readers, we do not do ghost members. So if you're not going to be active in the group, I would comfortably exit you from the community, because we are looking at the whole idea of this webinar by the host and the speaker is to ensure that we elevate. So yes, back to you, David. What in particular resonates with you from today's speaking, from today's session? So what are you please, the other should get ready. Please unmute your mic. We'd like to hear your voice. We'd like to hear you speak. Yes, please.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, yeah. So it was quite an insightful section, and however, I've been practicing some of these things already before, right? So
Beautiful.
so basically, what I'm just going to like readjust is the investment aspects, like buying of stocks, international stocks, and maybe some of our local stocks too. Those are like one of the things I think I actually have interest in implementing at this point. Because yeah, when he spoke about the real estate and all, I already started doing I already started doing things like that for a while already, and emergency funds, I've been doing that. And so yeah, and the whole investments, buying of stocks and all is one of the things I think I actually start putting my money into. And that was why I actually asked where which of the platforms he actually was actually talking about the other time when he made mention of the investments and buying as little as you can and doing this consistently. So yeah, I'm going to start with that. That's
All right, beautiful. So you're promising us that you'll be starting with stocks
I I do not
and
have a choice.
investments. You say you don't have a choice. I like that. Please. Please, thank you very much. So let's go to Babatunde. Let's hear you. In 30 seconds, let's hear you. What
Okay,
resonates with you the most?
okay. For me, is the trunk the point where you mentioned tracking income. I'm sorry, I need to acknowledge again. Well done, big man, Sir Henry. I appreciate. Thank you very much. Thank you also for the host and everyone for this privilege. So
Thank you.
the tracking income, yeah, I like it because at times there's a way one can emotionally want to spend. And he's right when he mentioned some examples as well. And when he stated the junks and yes. So the 1K, the 3K, the 2K, 500 naira, there's a lot of money when we check the statement and we realize that we spent a lot. The big ones can be very easy for us to release, but the small ones are quite quite easy, kind of, especially using apps like OPay and PalmPay. So I learned that tracking. So there's one app I use kind of. I saw it one cash stuff. I saw it on Play Store, but I think I would also. You mentioned one. I don't know if I can maybe get it again to check it, or maybe a platform. He mentioned it too, but I would like to also check that one. So that's majorly. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Let's have Miracle. Miracle, let's hear you. What resonates best with you? What's that thing you'll be practicing after now? Miracle, please, can we have you?
All right, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
All right. Okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Sayuri, King Elisha. Thank you very much. Um, host. So, Chidima. I don't know whether to call him Chidima or I don't know. Just thank you, basically.
Thank you.
Um. Okay. So I also the tracking of income, tracking of expenditure as well. I what I picked exactly was I made a mental note in my head to download Piggyvest as we were speaking. I made a mental note. If I wrote down in my WhatsApp that I should download Piggyvest as soon as possible, then set a plan for it because I have not been doing that. And so I think that's one of the major things I picked from tonight, and also tracking expenditure. Like the other guy said for me, just small expenses, that 1,000 naira there, that 500 naira there. You don't just know where the money is going to, right? So that tracking exactly is what I'm going to work on, in coming times. Thank you very much.
All right, that's beautiful. So we would be looking out for you, and let's see how well you have been able to manage impulse spending and impulse buying. So let's have the song I saw. Okay, let's have Ademide. Yes, let's have Ademide. I actually like this name because it's one of my teammates' names. So let's have Ademide. All right, Emmanuel, please give us a minute. Let's have Ademide. Are you ready to speak? All right, Emmanuel, let's have you whilst we're waiting for Ademide.
Okay, good evening, Chidima. Thank you for this wonderful
Yeah,
job
good
tonight.
evening.
I think you did a very great job.
The pleasure
Kudos
is
to
all
you.
mine. Thank
I want to
you.
thank
Thank
also the
you.
facilitators of this meeting. It's a very thoughtful idea. But I just want to raise two issues and I would like them to look at it maybe going forward on the WhatsApp platform. Number one is the tracking of finances. Not all of us have a background in accounting. Some of us are science inclined, but then money comes to all of us. So I don't know if there's such a thing as a tracking tool that one can maybe download or use because apart from just because most times when you say like Sahari was talking about downloading your statement of account and looking at it. When you download and look at it, there's nothing you can do about it. You spend the money, you know. So then but why I'm raising this is that if they can on the WhatsApp group always fill us up with alternatives of what to do with money apart from as in things that small money can do. Like I like the context you put it in small money earners. So if I can't spend 2K buying shawarma, what else can I use 2K to do? Because sometimes when we hear of this online investing, you start thinking about 100K, 200K, maybe converting money to dollars and all of that. So it sounds very high valuable. So if there are simple things that we can put money into around us, they can help us with those alternatives. That's number one. Then number two, I wanted to ask about corporate investing, maybe like as we are already a WhatsApp community now, can they come up with ideas? I'm sorry, I'm talking about the facilitators now, or any other strong hands among your group and your team. Can they come up with investments that they can sell to us? Kind of. There are some of these things that we do. Okay, like in the show, in the market where I am, sometimes when there's something to be done, maybe like buying of land or investing in real estate, it's not something one person can do. So we kind of come together as a collective unit and then we're able to execute that. And then the returns, somebody manages it or a group of persons manage it, and then the returns come to us, small like that. So that kind of a thing. Sometimes there's something like a cooperative or a susu stops, anything in fact that can just be yielding money that will keep us busy, that will keep us active. That's what will make the community active. Oh. Because apart from that, everybody is investing personally. Everybody downloads Bamboo, invests his own money, tracks his own profit, tracks his own losses. But if there's something that can keep us corporately together, I think it will make the group work well. So they should help us. Some of
All
us who are
right.
not in the financing line, who are not in the finances, at least they have to break it down And then anything that they can do to carry us along, we'll be willing to go along, even if it means them managing it for us. We are all good for it. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. So before I hand over to our speakers to handle your question. So first things first, let me address this. So yesterday, I presume you were not around yesterday, maybe for one reason or the other, and that's quite
No, I wasn't around.
understandable. Oh, okay, yeah.
I
So
also
that's
joined in
why
the
you actually came up with the question, and that's understandable. So had it been you were around yesterday, everything you mentioned, our first speaker, King Elisha, handled it explicitly. And at some point, I even gave an acronym for SAVE, which is start accumulating wealth efficiently and effectively, or you can say stop accepting big expenses. So when he mentioned that today is just more of a practical session, because had it been you were around, like I mentioned earlier, he gave us things we could do, books we could read, because the truth of the matter is everything here is somebody's research, everything here is somebody's experience, and each of us have our perspectives to how we perceive things. Because yesterday in the course of the webinar, our speaker made mention of things that get to affect our notions about money, where he mentioned our our cultural backgrounds, our personal beliefs. So you can see that some people would say, money is the root of all evil, and that's one of the mindsets, quote and unquote, that is hindering that person from attaining a certain kind of income. So yes, about getting proper knowledge of money. First things first, we cannot do everything for you. The saying goes, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink. So we would provide what we can provide, but now the work, or rather the ball is in your court. You decide whether or not to accept it, and you decide whether or not to reject it. So that's it for our alternative expenses. Then for cooperative joint savings, before I will still hand over, like I mentioned earlier. Well, all ideas are sweet, all ideas are interesting. King Elisha, I'll hand over to you, please. Hold on. So all ideas are beautiful, but the truth of the matter is, are we ready for what we are asking for? So if our consultant goes all out to get us a corporate investment, are we ready to give it our all? Because it's gonna be sad that he goes all out, probably gets an estate, and we all are required to pull in our resources to make it work, and some of us start pulling back. Well, that happens when it comes to a team. But the truth of the matter is, ask yourself first of all, are you ready for what you're asking for? That being said, I'll hand over to King Elisha to give all of his knowledge on this question, and yes, King Don Henry too would also address that before we continue. So I'll hand over to you, King Elisha. Over to you.
Hi, good evening to everyone. Can you confirm if you can hear me, please? Can you just confirm by dropping a emoji? All right, Chidima, thank you. Akinola, thank you. All right. This has been a awesome session. Thank you, Don Henry, for your insight. At some point, I was like, "Ah, God." You mentioned about will and how your parent bought you stocks and are earning dividends. Please, so I'm open for money in my account. All right. So, to answer the questions and to state some things that would be mentioned or that would go on in the group later on. Yeah, you mentioned about corporate investment. You mentioned about coming together to invest in maybe getting a property or something like that. All right, so definitely it is something we are going to look into, but we can't say for sure now that that will be um our what we are going to be pushing towards to, but it's something we would have to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves. But there's one thing I want you to know the group is for, and that's for us to know and grow our personal finance. You understand? Now, the purpose of Fundament itself is to teach people about money. And if you're here yesterday, I explained why the idea came about. And that's how, okay, when I was in secondary school, thinking I would know how to learn about finance, then down to university, and I was still unable to learn about finance. so on and so forth. So what we are doing majorly is to actually help you repurpose your finance. So from learning how to work with your personal finance, that's when we can answer, okay, if you are going to do anything corporate, we would know that okay, this person we are going to work with here is someone that's already taking actions, has taken the actionable step, has figured out his finance, is able to keep track of his money. So we don't start something and someone comes in later on and say, "Oh, I want my money. Oh, I want this." Understand? So there's a whole lot of things behind all this investment and corporate investment. You understand? So it's not something we would want to take lightly. You understand? Yeah, yeah. I understand you could not join the meeting. So it's something we'll still have again. Definitely. We're still going to have another meeting very, 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 very soon. And definitely also we're going to be having a physical meeting very, very soon this year and next year as well. So for corporate finance, for corporate investing, for buying of properties and all, it is something we would have to look into. I just want to state that before we would go into any of that, we would make sure that every participant is already up to track with their personal finance. So you have to learn your personal finance and tips, books, and other content will be dropped on the group for us to learn and for us to grow. I think that's what I have to say for now. Don Erin, please, do you have anything to say or shed your light upon what has been spoken about?
I think you have taken the weight off my shoulders for me. So, with everything you have said, it just aligns with what I was going to say if I was given the mic. You have to learn your own self first before you have more responsibility for yourself to learn, to gather more knowledge and understand your own finances. And if you now feel that there is more that you need to learn or there are questions that you need answered, the community is opened. It's open for you and for everyone. Then after that has been achieved, we can now go further into the corporate investment. But Rome was not built in a day. Steps were taken gradually before the towers and the castles were erected. So we cannot just jump straight into corporate investment. We have to make sure that everybody starts with understanding the basics of finance, going ahead to understanding their own finances before we can now go ahead as we can now go as far as making huge and large sums of corporate investment. And like you said, trust has to be built on that because you cannot expect someone who just joined the community some days ago to just trust a very large sum of money into a stranger to make some investments into in his or her name or make an investment promising some amount of return. And the only way the trust can be built is through the continuous updates on our community and continuous accountability to make sure that we are keeping up to our tasks of understanding finances and our own personal finances. Thank you very much.
It's Donhenry. So Emmanuel is asking, is forest a kind of investment? Let me see the question. He said, is forest a kind of investment? I hear a lot about forex. Well, Donhenry, please let me hand over to you. I can't answer.
Okay, Forex is a kind of investment, but not the kind of investments that I explained today. So now I did not mention Forex as a form of investment. Forex is like a market where you buy and sell. So in Forex, it's not the kind of investment I tried explaining today. Forex is a form of investment for people with high risk, um, tolerability, and it is also a form of marketplace where you come and buy and sell. So you have to be online 24/7. You have to study the market 24/7. You have to be active to make sure that at the point where this particular exchange is going down, you have to sell off so that you're not making a loss. And when you say particular exchange that is going really high, there's just a lot of intuitive that has to be put into forex. And forex is not an advisable form of investment. It is a business on its own. It is a world on its own. So forex has, just like David has mentioned, high risk and volatility. Not just high risk and volatility. You need to be like, it's more like, it's forex is a full-time job. It is a full-time job. First of all, you have to attend courses, you have to purchase books, you have to have countless mentors, you have to, it is a lot. So for someone who is just starting, or for someone who has a low risk tolerability, I would never, even with sleepy eyes, recommend forex to you. Please do not even think about it. You can brush through the knowledge just to have an idea of it, to understand what people are doing about it, but please and please, I cannot recommend you venturing into forex. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Donhenry. That being said, please, can we get our in-call messages up and going? Thank you so much. Please just say something, just something beautiful. This was mind blowing. Thank you so much, host. Let's get our messages coming. Yes, actually,
Sorry,
Emmanuel,
Chidima.
Forex is a business of its own. Yeah, sure.
All right, sorry, Chidima. All right, guys. So, thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to address the issue of forex. Yeah, I wanted to say forex is like a business, like you said, on its own. It's like where you buy and sell, where you use to make money. So yeah, it's not something you can put your money in on a long run, and the money will actually increase. You understand? But it's very risky. It's something you have to pay very close attention to, and a whole lot of stuff. So that's just what I wanted to say. I think Don Henry has done justice to it.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Please, can we get our messages up? Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Elisha. Thank you, Don Henry. Very impactful. Just say something sweet, something beautiful. So they'll know they actually have people here. And yes, like I always say, I feel like I'm talking to myself. You people should at least tell me, host, we are hearing you. How about, is it like these people normally do in this community? And it's not good. It's not good. Everybody is reacting. I say I want messages. Show your messages, react. I want everything. We're a responsive community. Let's get everything popping. Let's get everything popping. Energy, energy, energy. I've not seen Babatunde. Oh. I've not seen, let me start calling your names out. I've not seen Favor. Okay, David, you are reacting, but I want to see your message. I've not seen Okwechi. Okwechi, my fan. I've not seen you. Akinola, I've not seen Ademide. I don't know if you are here with us. I've not seen you. So please, whilst we are dropping in our in-call messages, because we are fast spent with time, can we quickly drop our messages? What resonates with you? I know some of us have spoken. For those of us that have not spoken, what resonates best with you? And we also do that in the community for the other persons that could not join. So they know they actually missed out on something big. So let's get our messages popping up, please. Let's get our messages popping up. We can do better, friends. We can do better, teammates. Let's get our messages popping up. Yes, whilst we are sending our messages, so a big thank you to our host, King Elisha, and also our speaker for day one. Wow, what you did yesterday, I don't know how you did it, but please, that was beautiful. Thank you so, so much. Thank you so much, Don Henry. Thank you so much, John Henry. God bless you. Thank you so much, King Elisha. God bless you. And yes, to my wonderful attendees, I have to give you a Pro Max love, because why? You actually left your schedule, you left everything you wanted to do, and you are here today to get value for your time, and that's something that cannot be paid for, because time on its own is money itself. Time on its own is something that we cannot buy back, but then if invested properly is something that in the long run we would appreciate. So before I continue with the appreciation, Emmanuel is still asking Don Henry, with Bamboo, are you going to be providing regular guidance on which stock to invest in? Hmm. John Henry, please, let's have you answer that.
So the idea here now is we have a community that we're trying to build, and that community is going to be fed with weekly insights on all the platforms that I use. So if there's any new update or any new feature that is really relevant to growing our personal finance on the four platforms I mentioned, or all the platforms that I use, I'll drop weekly insights and guidelines on all of them in the community to make sure that everybody's growing alongside. So the idea here now is I'm not trying to grow alone. Along the line, I would need a lot of people, and along the line, I am not selfish to keep knowledge to myself. So I drop insights every week on the community and on all my social media pages. So I'm trying to grow alongside with everybody at the same time. So we are all growing, and that way everybody would grab and learn very well from the growth and the guidelines.
All right, so Don Henry, Emmanuel says, thank you so much for the promise of weekly insights on the group. And yes, so this webinar is so much value for time. God bless everyone. So all right, that being said, we are going to draw the curtains here. And like I said earlier, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for attending. And I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate everything. Well, every other thing that would be done would continue in the group. So ensure that you are active in the community and in our WhatsApp platform, because that's where most of our insights after now would be dropped. And yes, there is a gift for every attendee here from our speaker. So let's react to that. There's a gift from our speaker today. To everyone that attended this webinar, there's a gift from him, and the gift to be dropped in the group. So that being said, thank you so much again for everything. Yes, thank you so much again for everything. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. It was such a mind-blowing moment. So till we'll come again. David, I don't know, do you have anyone's contacts here? Do you have anybody's contacts here? If you don't, just Tunde. Please, who is Tunde? Okay, let me drop mine. So you could just chat me up and then would have you added to the group. Baba Tunde. So I've dropped my number. You could just chat me up and then we'll have you added to the group. That being said, thank you so much, family. Thank you so much, teammates. Till I come your way next time. Yes, Creative Capital Webinar 1.0 officially has ended. And yes, I am your IC host, Chidima. Thank you so much again. I love you all. I celebrate you. Thank you so much, King Elisha, for putting up this webinar, this Creative Capital. Thank you so much, our speaker, Don Henry. Thank you so much, all our attendees. We love you, we appreciate you, and we keep celebrating you on daily basis. Let's go out and win this week and keep winning. Thank you so much, and that'll be all for tonight. Good night, everyone.